Okay, before we move on to page 3, I forgot to tell you, just go ahead and cross this example out. We're not going to study it yet. And what I would like you to do is try these 3 problems over here on your own. Okay? Now remember, you have to find, first you have to change these to mixed numbers, these mixed numbers to impropers, and then find a common denominator and add, and then in the case of these two, subtract them. Okay? That's what I would like you to do. Now, let's move on to page 3. These are line segments and lines and line segments. Line AB, that's this guy right here. Notice that line AB has arrowheads at the end of it. That is because it's impossible to actually draw a line on a sheet of paper because it continues on and on and on forever in both directions. And we use these arrowheads to illustrate the fact that it does that. Notice how we name it AB with the arrowheads on the line on top of it. That's different than segment CD, where segment CD doesn't have the arrowheads. Notice it definitely stops at point C and point D. So that's the difference between a segment and a line. Segments stop, lines, they go on forever. Okay. Now these word problems involve fractions, and they're nothing different than what we did on the front 2 pages. Just they're word problems now. That's all. So in the picture below, line AC, this entire line here is 3 3/4 inches long. That's what the problem tells us. And from BC, that's from here to here, it's 2 5/8 long. And what they want us to find is this part right here. Okay? Well, we know the entire and we know one of the parts, and we want to know the other part. There's 2 kinds of these problems. Part plus part equals entire, or entire minus part equals part. That's this situation here. This is a subtraction problem. So to set this up, we have 3 3/4 minus 2 5/8. Let's convert these to improper fractions. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15 over 4, minus 8 times 2 is 16, plus 5 is 21 over 8. Multiply the bottoms together to get 2 new fractions. This case, 32 in the bottom. Now, how did I get from 4 to 32? I multiplied by 8. Let me use my calculator to do 15 times, it's easy, it's 120. How did I get from 8 to 32? I multiplied by 4. 21 times 4 is 84. Now I'm left with simple subtraction across the top. 120 minus 84, that is 36 over 32. Let's reduce by a factor of 4. Divide top and bottom by 4. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 32 divided by 4 is 8. So our final answer is 9/8. Now don't forget, this was a word problem, so we have units, inches. 9/8 of an inch. That is our final answer. Okay? Now let's move on to this one down here. Segment DE is 3 3/5 inches long, part. EF is 2 3/4. 2 3/4. Part. And they want to know how long DF is. Notice DF is the entire line. So in this case, it's part plus part equals entire. This is an addition problem. 3 3/5 plus 2 3/4. All right, let's change these mixed numbers and improper fractions. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18 over 5. Big addition symbol. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11/4. Remember, multiply the bottoms together to get your 2 new fractions. How did I get from 5 to 20 on the first fraction? I multiplied by 4. 4 times 18. 4 times 18 is, whoops, clear, 4 times 18, 72. And then, how did I get from 4 to 20? I multiplied by 5. 5 times 11 is 55. So we have 72 plus 55. That gives us 127 over 20. And remember, this was a word problem again, so our unit is inches. That concludes lesson 1. If you have any questions or are unsure about a certain section, make sure you go back and replay that section. And I will see you in class.